Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a little while. Hope everyone's doing good. I'm, I'm sitting here comfy, recording a video. I've got my cats lounging here on the chair and on the couch, so everything's quiet today. And I've got something new to show you. And just see what comes up. So as you may have noticed from my recent videos, I've been very much into plastic decks recently. So I thought, what's a better way to end the series, or at least bring it to like a high point, let's say, for the time being, by getting an actual plastic tarot deck. And obviously the only one that's available on the mass market basically is the Rider-Waite Smith tarot deck. And you obviously have the 100% Rider-Waite Smith tarot deck. So that's what I got here. And that's what I'm going to unbox today. And we will, and basically what I'm planning on doing is compare that to my Bicycle Prestige and my chem decks. Right, so we'll get into those. Obviously, you've already seen those. But yeah, so let me just change the camera here before I start, because I almost forgot. So there you go. We have the flap here that needs to be cut. I'm not showing the package because my address is on there, so I don't want people looking it up. Not that it really matters, but you know, I've got a lawsuit coming up and a whole bunch of exciting stuff, so I'd rather not risk any of that. So yeah, let's see. That's the invoice, so I'm not going to show that either. It's in Greek anyway. Okay. Well packaged. Pretty happy about that. Let me just remove one more here. A little bit more space to get it out. Alright, there you go. Still in shrink wrap. I think this should be easy to remove relatively. It looks pretty thin. But I wonder it would be best to use a knife or not. Although, yeah, okay, that seemed to have worked fine. Because I don't want to damage the package, you know. Alright. Pretty excited about this. Okay, so we got another telescopic box. It's not very stable, but not very tight, but that's not a big issue. Probably not going to be using it too much anyway. And we have the deck here. It looks pretty alright, honestly. I've seen some reviews. Obviously, I already know what to expect to some degree. But yeah, okay. Because I was wondering what type of plastic this was going to be. And I think I already know. And I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing yet. But yeah, let's look through the cards. These are the backs. Just the plaid back. And then we have the faces. Honestly, it's nice to dive back into the classics sometimes. And I honestly don't hate the Rider-Waite Smith, if you will, or the Pamela Coleman Smith Tarot, if that's what your preference. I'm not hating. I just don't think it's very important, honestly. Because, yeah, Pamela Coleman Smith was the artist, but it was still the brainchild of Arthur Edward Waite. But honestly, you know, I do think that Pamela herself had her own ideas as well that she added in there. For example, like the influences from the Sola Busca tarot, right? All that stuff, which, as we know, or as you may know, she actually got inspired by herself by looking at those pictures. Okay. Okay, it does smell a little bit. It doesn't smell bad, honestly. I've had worse. I think I'm gonna. I might keep that. So let's let's go through it a little bit more. So you have the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, the Hermit, Wheel of Fortune, Justice. You do have a copyright here. Temperance, the Devil. Honestly, I'm not crazy about the colors. I was expecting a bit more. I was actually expecting more saturation. People were, looking at reviews and stuff like that. It looked very saturated, but this is actually. And I actually thought that the line art would be thicker or more intense. I don't know. But it's not bad. And I mean, it's still the same images and it's still a plastic deck. Judgment, World. And the Fool. So here we have the Fool at the end of the Major Arcana, which is interesting. And then we have the chords. Okay, so we go from high to low. The chords. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ace. Interesting. If this was a French deck, it would be the ace would be here. So yeah. King, Queen, Knight, Page. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Ace. I thought the dove was white. But yeah, honestly, these pictures are alright, but I actually kind of like the Bota tarot deck better. Although I wish they'd come out with like a plastic version and colored and everything. And we have the ad cards. Pamela Coleman Smith, The Untold Story. Okay. So yeah, and then we have the box. I should have probably shown that earlier, but yeah, I mean, you can see that on any review. I don't think that's very interesting or very important anyway. But yeah, so just to make a comparison, I honestly think this is the same material. It doesn't say on the box, right? So maybe I should show it. The only original, 100% plastic. Hand-drawn titles. 100% plastic tarot are durable, resistant to bending, easy to shuffle, and can last up to 15 times longer. So it doesn't say what type of plastic it is. Here it says Duraflex. But I honestly suspect it's the same type. And it might even be the same thickness, only you don't really notice it because the cards are bigger. Yeah, it's definitely the same. So that's not a bad thing necessarily. Like if you compare it to the chems are a lot smoother and a lot more flexible. They're not necessarily thinner though. They're about the same thickness, if not exactly the same. You may notice. But the bicycle plastic ones, the Duraflex ones, they're definitely tougher. They're harder to bend, and that's just what they are. I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just what it is, you know. And sometimes when I've used the chems a little bit too much, and I want to shuffle these, for example, it kind of feels like a chore. But then you get used to it again, and it's not actually that bad. But the cams are really, really supple. But at the same time, the cams are poker sized, right? So they're playing card size. So they're actually smaller. So having a more flexible type of cardstock or plastic may actually be an advantage in this case. And what's funny is I actually also ordered a pack of cam bridge cards, which are a little bit smaller, more narrow actually. So I will review those once they arrive. So let's give this one a go. I'm actually pretty excited to use it. I've had it all day and I haven't opened it up yet, just so I could make this video. So yeah, this is pretty nice. Okay. I'm not sure if I like this just yet, but there could be. I mean, the size is a little bit awkward, and the sound is a little bit weird. It sounds a little bit like, and the smell wafts off as you shuffle the cards, so that's a little bit fun. That's pretty funny, but yeah. Let me just see. There you go. Alright. I think they could have done them a little bit smaller, honestly. Because they're pretty damn big. I don't know why they're this big. And it's probably the added thickness of the plastic. But at the same time, it feels a little bit too much. And the shuffling just doesn't... It's not as nice as... well, as the cams, obviously it wouldn't be. But as the Bicycle Prestige, because the sound is a little bit grating, a little bit, and it goes very slowly. The cards don't offer much resistance. It might have been better if they went for even thicker, actually, and a bit smaller size, even thicker cardstock, and smaller size. Okay, so the overhand shuffling is actually okay. And it does feel, I do like the heft of it. I do like the weight. So the overhand shuffling is actually decent. Page of Pentacles, King of Cups. I'll do one more and I'll try another riffle shuffle. Because this is the first time shuffling, so I just want to be thorough. I wonder if I should... Wait, let me try one more thing. One more time. Yeah. Okay, well, it is what it is. I think I shuffled it enough, so let's draw some cards. That's King of Pentacles, that's definitely me. Ten of Wands, that's definitely me. And the Queen, okay. Alright, okay, I don't know what to think about this just yet. I mean, if we just take it, like, allegorically, literally, King of Pentacles, I generally associate with the King of Pentacles, even though officially my card would be the Knight of Pentacles. But, I do see them as, they're related to each other. But I'm kind of a domestic person. I like to have my, my routine and my comfy home environment and stuff like that. And I'm also willing to defend that, and that's kind of the situation I'm in, you could say. The Ten of Wands obviously is a lot of work and stuff like that. And as I said earlier, I have a lawsuit coming up, so that's all weighing on me quite a bit. And then the Queen of Wands, shows someone who nurtures like passion and inspiration and she motivates you basically. So it could be a person, it could be something else, but I tend to read the chords as, you know, kind of a bit of both, you know, like certain qualities that a person may possess, things like that. So yeah, so that's the spread for today. And so that's the 100% plastic Rider-Waite Smith tarot deck. So that's fine, it's good. I honestly like the way that they decided to call it the 100% Rider tarot deck. And then if you look here, they say known also as the Waite Tarot, Smith-Waite Tarot, RWS Tarot, Rider-Waite Tarot, Pamela Coleman Smith Tarot deck, and Rider-Waite Smith Tarot. And it's funny too, because US Games has sold these same cards with all these different titles as different editions, and they still have them all. You know, if you look at the random tarot shop, they will have most of them in stock. But yeah, I find it interesting because, you know, obviously, as I said, let me just package these, put these back in their thing, so I can make a picture here for my thumbnail also. You know, if you put these together, right? These are all by the same company. This is all US Games, US Playing Card Company. They're the same company, right? There's no difference. And obviously, if you, like, for example, if you look at this card, for example, in the bicycle deck. Oh, wait, is this? Oh, it's not this one. Is there another card? Okay, not the okay, it's actually the Chem deck. From the makers of B, so that's also the same. You know, it belongs to the same conglomerate. Maybe the Dragonback. Well, the Dragonback I know for sure, right? So you have B, Aristocrat, Hoyle, Chem, and Fournier, right? And we've talked extensively about Fournier before, and I actually should finish that series because I still have some episodes, some ideas of about Fournier that I still want to show you guys. But so this is the same company. USPCC owns owns US Games, owns Fournier, owns Chem, but they're in their turn owned by Cartamundi, obviously. So there's an even bigger player that basically controls the whole business, right? And obviously, so. But I do find it interesting that they changed their marketing. They have a whole separate logo for their US Games imprint, right? Compared to their normal, like the bicycle one, you know. I mean, USPCC themselves don't seem to put their logos on anything in particular. You can't find anything here either on this cartouche. But, you know, they're obviously the same company, you know. And the reason why I keep bringing this up is obviously, you know, you have the same design philosophy, you know. You have these telescopic boxes. You have this idea, let's try plastic cards. And they try plastic cards, you know. And then you have the Bicycle Prestige deck and the 100% Rider Tarot deck. They're made of the same material. They have the same feel. But it works for this deck, but it doesn't really work for this one. But then you also have the chems. And then you have the chems, you know, like years ago. And once I get my new decks, I will show that to you too. They had like these plastic decks. Then they got bought up by USPCC. Then USPCC released these card boxes, these cardboard boxes, which were kind of crap. And then they re-released, they made new plastic boxes, but those were kind of crap as well. So then they made this. Once they made the bicycle, I think this was the order. Once they made the Bicycle Prestige deck and they made their own proprietary plastic cards, they actually also used the technology for this box for the chems as well, because it's the same design again. So there's a connection through all these three decks, even though they're like completely different, but they're all made by the same company, right? So just, you know, this all, you know, brings me back to obviously what I've talked about before, that, you know, the USPCC and Fournier and Cartamundi and all these companies that are sending you tarot decks, they're companies. You know, they're out to make money. They're not actually, you know, they're not looking out for your best interest. They're not looking to create the, but they are looking to create the best materials and stuff like that, and experiment with stuff like that to see if people like it and stuff like that. Obviously, you know, I'm not saying that, and I'm not even saying, because I do believe that, you know, I do think these companies like USPCC and all these playing card manufacturers and all that stuff are run by Freemasons. You know, that should be, and that's also why, you know, and you know, it's the same cabals that run casinos and that run all this business and stuff like that. And then there's always like, you know, there's overlap with like the underworld, with the, you know, the underground, you know, like criminal mobs and stuff like that, but also with, obviously, with big business and so on. But at the same time, you know, they all have their bank accounts in Switzerland. They all have their meetings and their secret societies, but they also have their they're also all part of these cabals, you know, and they all have these. So it's, what I'm trying to say is, it's still based on these esoteric teachings that you will find in all these societies as well, you know. So you can take it, you know, you have to take it with a grain of salt. At the same time, these are the tools we get to work with. Unless we step up and change something about this, start making our own tools, our own philosophies, our own decks, I don't know. It depends on what you want to do, you know. It depends on what you. This is just something that has taken my interest, and I'm willing to explore in different ways, you know, because I'm both interested in the tarot and in playing cards, and it's just something that really fascinates me. So yeah, I'm gonna. Oh yeah, and by the way, speaking of which, I'm also reading a book now, which is this one, Last Call by Tim Powers, which is funny because I got this recommended because I was promoting my own book, The Hand of Fate, on Reddit, and this book is about tarot poker, but it's a novel, so it's a fantasy novel about like a supernatural game of poker tarot, where people are basically waging their souls and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's been very interesting too, because it's been kind of, and I'm not even halfway yet, but I've been a pretty good way into the book. Chapter 12, page 114, so that's not bad. I'm actually doing pretty well. Because it's actually been a while since I've actually sat down and read anything and passionately got into reading a book. And this book is doing that for me, so I'm really happy about that. But it's also changing my perspectives about A, about storytelling, B, about divination, and C, about gambling, right? This is basically, it leads me right back to why I even wrote The Hand of Fate, and I'm going to show it here, just so... Where do I have it? Just so I get it in view. Wait, where do I have it? Let me just open up the big scene. I do have a few more copies lying around somewhere. Why can't I find a single copy of my fucking book? What the fuck is going on? Ah, there you go. Yeah. Right? So yeah, The Hand of Fate, guys. You know, I don't think this is coincidence. I don't think these, you know, I think I should amend the appendix in this book to refer to this book as well, because it will change. Like, if you're serious about reading cards, it's a very interesting book, because even though it's a fantasy novel, I actually think there's more, you know, because truth is weirder than fiction, you know. But I do think the writer, Tim Powers, and I mean, it's in his name, guys. Tim Powers, like, what the fuck, dude? I've seen some interviews, and he seems like a very, like, you know, scholarly guy, and just kind of you know, just a simple sort of intellectual type guy, and he kind of takes his own writings with a grain of salt and stuff like that, and he doesn't take it seriously at all. But I feel like this book is tapping into something really deep, guys. Because the thing is, like, he makes that connection, like I did in my book, between like gambling, and reading, counting cards, reading the odds, and all that stuff, and how that connects to divination. And for example, he talks a lot about why gamblers have all these, poker players specifically, have all these superstitions about different things and stuff like that, which is all part of the same thing. Because once you can't, even with the, and people say it's truncated. I don't believe this is a truncated deck, I think these two decks, they're just both here at the same time, and they just, for some reason, they got the shapes they got, and they're just two different entities, but at the same time, they're speaking a similar language. I don't even think one is better than the other, or that but they are related. It's like brother and sister or something like that, But even if you just take these cards, bro, if you're, if you take some shrooms or whatever, you'll start seeing shit. The shapes will start moving, and they will start, because these are, you'll start noticing that these symbols, they're like these parasitic beings, and every one is both individual and part of the collective and of the whole, of both this symbol and the whole card, and stuff like that, And once you understand that this, it's the same form of communication as language is, they're just symbols, and symbols have a sort of eternal internal consistency, or internal, they're like a closed system, right? It doesn't lead anywhere. It's like a labyrinth that's separated from the rest of the world, and it's like a little universe of its own. That's kind of what these are, and once you start, and this is not just cards, everything that we create, or that exists around us, is a piece of the universe. It's a kind of so everything kind of interlocks and kind of works together. And that's also why magic, for example, is the art of substitution. You use something to represent something else, and you try to bring it in this whole constellation of similar things that resonate on the same way, and try to get an effect off of that. But you don't need things like, personally, that's what I believe, you don't need things like a magic wand, or you can do it with anything. You can do it with your imagination. You can do it with words, through poetry. You can do it through cards. You can do it through just everyday situations and things that you encounter, like street numbers or phone numbers or people's names or dreams, or just think. Those are all signs. That's all the language of the birds. That's what I've been studying on this channel. And I mean, it's getting more and more cuckoo out there, but I think I'm starting to make more and more sense of how I view the world, and what it actually all is, and what history is, and how these things interconnect. And I'll have to do a separate video on all that stuff, because I'm getting way out of off topic now. But so, that's what my channel is about. I also started writing new poetry. I wrote a new poem today. I don't know how active I'm going to be compared to last year. Whether I'm going to write a new book or something like that. But I have two books now on my name, under different pseudonyms. I will link both of them in the description this time. So if you're interested in Albanian or Arvanite poetry, especially if you're Greek or Albanian yourself, feel free to take a look. I'm pretty proud of my book. It's the only, I think, as far as I know, it's the only published work of Arvanite literature in the world. So, it's got to count for something. I don't know if you're interested in that kind of stuff, but, it's what it is. I just try to express myself and get my point across, and at the same time try to reach out to something that's greater than myself. You know, that's kind of how I view this whole process, and it's all interconnected. You know, my poem today was about the cards. Actually, I might even show it to you at least. I will recite the poem because it's actually relevant to the topic. So it goes like this. Ja me thos, kush dështon në kartëzet, fiton dhe dashuri, papulli im duhet e ish një lodrëtar I pamir. So that means my grandma would say that those who lose at cards are lucky in love. Why my grandpa must have been a terrible gambler indeed. So yeah, that was my poem for today. Make of that what you will. So yeah, that's enough yapping out of me. So I hope you enjoyed. And as I said, my next video, well, I don't know when it's going to arrive. I still have some more merchandise I'm waiting for. Specifically another pack of chem cards. This time they're the bridge-sized ones. Because I was thinking, you know, I cut this one deck. I shortened it to a piqué deck, as I mentioned. But piqué, you know, I grabbed my French cards again. And was like, piqué is usually smaller size. You know, they're usually bridge-sized or something like that. And I was like, yeah. And at the same time, I was like, you know, these poker cards, I think for these chems, for the cellulose acetate material, they feel a bit too big, a bit too flexible, too flimsy. Even though I like the feel of the cards and the material, and I will keep using those, obviously. But they just feel a little bit, you know, I just wanted to compare. And I was hoping I could get a bridge deck, and I found one. And I found one for cheap even in Europe for like maybe 20, maybe 25 euros, including shipping from Cyprus. And I was even, because on the eBay page it said it was poker sized. But then I actually took they were like, it's X by X centimeters, and that's the official poker size. So I looked that up, but that's actually the bridge size. So I didn't know at the time I was buying it. I just saw the price and I was like, oh, I gotta get it. Even though I already have them, I gotta get one. And it turns out to be bridge size, which was what I wanted in the first place. So yay for me. So anyway, let me just draw a few more cards to close this, because I know I've been yapping and I know I shouldn't yap anymore, but who knows? You know, let's just draw a few cards. Jack of diamonds, Jack of hearts, and the 10 of spades. All right, guys. Looks like the calm before the storm, let's say. So hope you've had fun, and I'll see you guys next time when I get the next deck, and I'll have something more to review for you. See you next time. Bye-bye.